Arsenal have a striker out on loan who has more goals and assists than Victor Osimhen. He's also got combined more goals and assists than Dusan Vlahovic. And he's only just turned 21 years old. Before we talk about who this player is though, do me the favour of giving me a thumbs up on this video if you enjoy this type of content. So let's get into it. So I am of course speaking about 21-year-old from Denmark, Mika biereth. Make sure you stick around though, because there's actually more heavy links coming out between Arsenal and a guy who's one goal away from 40 goals this season. So I know many of you know who Mika biereth is because I've heard you speak about him in the comment section of many of my videos. I'm excited about him. I know many of you are as well. And that leaves us with a couple of questions. Is Mika biereth ready now? And if he is, will Mikel Arteta give him a chance? I mean, I've got some reasons here as to why that could happen, but also some reason as to why it may not happen. You know, this season, he's playing incredible. He started off playing at Motherwell in Scotland, played so well for them, was banging in the goals, and Arsenal recalled them. Motherwell was not happy about it. Of course, the manager was gutted because he was playing so well, starting loads of games, couple of substitute appearances as well. But he was starting most of the games. And the Motherwell coach said it's a shame, but Arsenal obviously had different plans for him. So he comes back to Arsenal, and Arsenal send him out to Sturm Graz. Very good team, and that obviously gives him the chance to get some European experience. This is a team who was playing in the Europa Conference League. He managed to play a couple of games in that as well. So it probably was a good move bringing him back from Scotland and sending him over to Sturm Graz. Now, how good's he doing in Sturm Graz? Banging the goals in. Listen to this, look. 14 goals this season and 6 assists. Just look at the Arsenal players. There aren't many players in Arsenal's team who can compare to that. I think there's only one in Bukayo Saka. So this is a player who has undoubted quality. But it's just whether we can get Mikel Arteta to give him a chance, or whether Mikel Arteta will give him a chance. We know there might be multiple factors in deciding if this player is not only good enough, but if it is viable for him to stay as well. So it leaves you with a question, is he good enough? In my opinion, yes. Just look at clips. I know clips don't always tell you the story, but you kind of get a rough indication of what kind of qualities a player has. And I think he's perfect for Arsenal. You know, not only does he score loads of goals, he assists as well. In most of his seasons, you know, the last 3, 4, 5 seasons, he scored a load of goals, but he's more than half of them. He's assisted as well. So say if he gets 25 goals, he's got 15 assists. So it's a player who not only knows where the back of the net is, but he likes to bring other players in as well. And that suits Arsenal perfectly. We know at the minute, when we're playing like a Jesus, he's not the most prolific in the world. He does link up play, and it benefits Arsenal's wingers. That means the wingers can get more goals. Arsenal like to share the goals around in the squad. And Mika biereth can be a mainstay in that forward line, in my opinion, because, like I said, he can score, he can assist. What else do you want in a number 9? But then you're left with a question of, will Mikel Arteta give him a chance? And I think this is where, unfortunately, financials might come into it. Because, listen, he probably is a 50, 60, 70 million pound player in the making. 21 years old. There's not many strikers, young strikers of that age profile in Europe that you can pick up for a cheap fee. It doesn't exist. But we know what happens with FFP, and we know how clubs in the Premier League are having to balance the books so they can bring other talent in. And we know he come through the academy, so it will be straight profit on the books. So if we sell him for 30, it won't be 30, 40, 50 million pound, you know, it gives you leeway in being able to go and sign a 60 million pound centre mid, 80 million pound striker. So unfortunately, even though he may be good enough, he may not be given a chance. So many of us last season wanted Balogun to be given a chance. Mikel Arteta saw it another way, and I'm not convinced that that was entirely based on his performances, because he had been doing so well in the French league. Was it a question of, listen, we need to sell this player, we're going to get the 40 million pound, you know, and that's straight profit on our books? Unfortunately, football has come to that now. You do kind of have to run it to a business. Just look at teams like Chelsea, the bother that they're going to be in. We've seen financial experts come out recently and say, listen, if these guys don't clean up their books, they're going to be charged. You know, they need to kind of find 100, 200 million pound of straight profit. That's why you're seeing teams get linked to players like Conor Gallagher, who's probably their best player. It's just unfortunate that it happens. You know, I think if Mikel Arteta has a look at him in pre-season and deems him good enough, I think ultimately he will keep him. But if it's kind of like 50-50, I think that's more likely when you're going to see him get shipped out. Do I think he's going to be good enough? Yes. Let me know your thoughts on Mika biereth. But the thing we do need to bear in mind is we need a striker who's ready to go. You know, if it was 2 seasons or 3 seasons ago, it probably would be easier to bed players in from like the younger youth academies, because we're not in a title race. Now we're in title races. We're looking to fight for Champions League, so it's a lot harder to give players, you know, extended opportunities or opportunities in the Cup and then in the Premier League as well. Because points are so crucial in the Premier League and the Champions League, it might be difficult for him to get a consistent run of games of 10, 15, 20 games. And that's probably what he's going to need to try and show how good he is. But if you want my thoughts on what's going to happen, I hope Arteta has a look at this guy. And I hope we can bring him in. You know, we've sent him out on loan now. We see what he can do. We know he can score goals. At least keep him with a first team and use him as like a rotation player, as we have done with Eddie Nketiah. We know Eddie Nketiah is looking to be sold this summer. So even if we have to sell Nketiah and bring Mika biereth in as that rotation guy who may only get 10, 15, 20 games a season, and most of them will be as a substitute. You know, you got EFL Cup. You might be able to start him in a couple of them games. But I do think this is a player that Arsenal need to look at. I do think this player has all the attributes needed to be a top striker. Otherwise, we're going to have to go for a player who will cost 100 million. You know, like I said at the beginning of the video, there's so much more links coming out linking us to Victor Gyokeres. You know, he's nearly got 40 goals this season, 14 assists as well. So, you know, it just leaves you asking, what do you want? Do you want to go and spend 70, 80, 90, 100 million on that star striker to make a statement and say, listen, we ain't here to play around. We got the big boy striker now. Or would you rather go down the academy route? Let me know. If you had an option right now, if Mikel Arteta was asking you and he said, listen, shall we give Mika biereth a chance, or do we go and sign a Victor Gyokeres? Or if not Gyokeres, who else do you go for? Do you go for a Victor Osimhen, a Vlahovic? Like I said, Mika biereth, he's performing better than them two this season. Now, I'm not trying to say he's a better player, but those two maybe aren't having the season that some of these other strikers across Europe are having, like Gyokeres. Unbelievable. He's up there with the very best in the world. You know, Harry Kane's probably having the best season in terms of a striker. Right on his tail is Victor Gyokeres. If I'm being honest, I would be happy with any option. I think if we're wanting to compete, maybe you do need to go for the Gyokeres. But that leaves you asking, you know, Havertz has just come in. Havertz is looking really well. So what do you do with Havertz? What do you do with Jesus? Do you need 3 strikers? I know we got 3 strikers at the minute. But do you need 3 top strikers? Can you get away with having a Havertz, Jesus and Gyokeres? And if you do you find game time for all of them? Or is there always going to be one who's sort of struggling for game time, mood drops, and it can cause stress in the dressing room? I'm just thinking, like, you don't want to leave yourself in a sticky situation. I think ultimately Arsenal will go out and sign a big striker this season. But in my opinion, what we need to do, if we do go and sign a Gyokeres or a Vlahovic, I do think we still need to give Mika biereth a chance. I don't think he's nowhere near his peak. Of course, he's only 21 years old. There's so much more this kid has to offer. So many attributes he has. I think we really need to give this guy a chance. If that means selling Eddie Nketiah and bringing Mika biereth in, I think that's definitely what we need to do. Like I said, let me know your thoughts on everything you've heard in this video, or just let me know your thoughts on the striker predicament in general. Do you think Arsenal need to buy a striker? Would you bring Mika biereth in? Would you go and sign a Gyokeres or a Osimhen or a Vlahovic? Let me know. Like I said, thanks for watching. Before you go though, if you could, just hit like and subscribe, and I will speak to you all in tomorrow's video. Gooners, have a good day.